Take two. Amy Darby is in the house. Sundays with Season 12, Episode 2. I have a title for us. Kindred Spirits, Mothers, Founders, and Overcoming Challenges. Do you like it?
Yeah. You're so good. I love it.
Yeah, well, we'll just start off and we'll say this is actually take two. You
Yes.
actually in my house.
Yes, I was.
And we recorded like this,
A gem of a podcast.
the longest one I've ever done, 1 hour and 42 minutes.
I mean, what? And it was so easy. And I think you asked me 2 questions.
I did. I have my list tab, and then
Yeah.
it was so easy and flowing and beautiful.
Yeah, it really was.
But this is the first time I've done actual video or really worked with the video. We were talking and a little box popped up on the laptop, like an error message, but I really
Yes.
wasn't trying to pay attention because it was
Yeah.
interrupting the flow. So, but the error message said, this video is stopped recording.
And you were like, no, it's fine.
Good. Amy, we're good. So
Good, good. I saw you go like this.
Mhm.
Oh, well, it's nice to see you again, and let's just see if we can do it again.
Let's do it. So,
Into the flow.
when I was, really thinking about this season behind the scenes, and a lot of people ask me about starting a foundation and all that goes into it. And they're curious. And, you and I connected.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Yeah, it was right around. And so Eliza and Ben passed away around the same time.
Yeah, just like a few weeks apart. And I found out from Robin Bailey, who one of her kids was in Ben's class.
Mhm.
And then we met.
Yeah, we had coffee, and I was so impressed with, like, so early on.
I was a psycho. I was like, I will do this.
Oh, it was amazing. Like, I was like a year and a half delayed.
Yeah.
I would go to your website from time to time and peek up there. And I was, it was so pretty and professional. And I was like, wow, I mean, she's really going for it. We were still trying to find our way.
Right. Well, think it was so quick because I knew from the moment Eliza was diagnosed with autism and the moment she was diagnosed with epilepsy that it was not a good flow from doctor to therapy. It was like such a huge disconnect between the person that was actually telling me, your child has autism, your child has epilepsy. There was a disconnect between that and the next steps. So I knew immediately after Eliza died, I just thought, okay, what am I going to do to keep her name like out there? I'm like, I'm going to start a foundation, and it's going to be helping parents navigate this really hard journey, because I mean, it is hard, just like yours with Ben. It was a hard journey, but there was so much lacking in the community that it was pretty easy for me to figure out what we needed. And for you, there's a lot more integral steps of, treating childhood cancer. Like, that's crazy.
I know. But tell me, so you started the Eliza Hope Foundation.
Yes. And then under the Eliza Hope Foundation is the therapy center, because what I really wanted to do was to provide a place for children who were diagnosed to come and get all their therapy in one place, to get any kind of extracurriculars in one place. And, I'm sure you have thought through this too. I was so nervous because I'm like I started thinking like, wait, maybe I'm the only one who has this problem, who had this problem. Maybe I'm the only one who had an issue like this. And I wasn't. I mean, the people that I talked to very early on were so excited for it to open, and they were like, this is what we need. I can't drive all over. The doctors, the therapists don't talk to each other, so nobody knows what anybody's doing. And that was very disheartening for me too, when it was going on. It's like, okay, speech is doing one thing, OT is doing another thing, ABA is doing another thing. Like, okay, well, nobody knows what the other person's doing except for me telling them. And that's like, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just regurgitating what these therapists have told me. So it's nice because we can, the child can go to speech, and then the speech therapist takes the child after that to the ABA therapist, and they chit chat, and then so it's really like organic how it works. And I mean, we've served last year 800 families.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Through all of our different therapies and extracurriculars and everything like that. So it's definitely successful. The hard thing, as we know, is raising money.
Yeah, I know.
That's the part that's like, "Ugh."
It's because your mind is you're holding the vision.
Right.
You are orchestrating all the other pieces, but asking for money is the part where I enjoy getting to know the donors. I enjoy
Absolutely.
cleaning the relationships. That's something I really love. But the ask is really hard. And I don't know for you, but I feel like there's still this emotional piece.
Absolutely. I feel like it's like, wait, why don't you want to give to this is for my child? Like, what are you talking about? I get like very like, wait, why aren't you crying? Why don't I see your eyes watering when I'm trying to tell you about why we did this? Um, so yeah, I had this one opportunity to sit down with the head of fundraising for a big hospital in the area. And I sat down and I showed her the video and I did this and she sat very like, and I was like, my gosh, she like hates me. She because everybody else I heard was like sobbing and they're like, oh, I need a service. You do everything. And she was like, it's very good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that. And I was like, now it's so crazy. On her birthday that year, I think it was 2019, after I met with this person. And then on her birthday, April 12th of that year, I got an email saying, we are happy um, to give you a grant for $40,000. And I was like, so I was like, then she did like, she just didn't want to like cry it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I know it's interesting. I always think that, our story was about living and inspiration. So I don't necessarily look for someone to cry. I mean, they do sometimes. People do get very emotional and a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, I have an 8-year-old," or,
yeah,
and that's when you can draw the line with someone,
right.
a young child or someone. I mean, that's when it really touches people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think that to some extent, you really want your story to touch people because you're not going to give to something that you don't feel emotionally like tied to. And everybody has a human interest story, but when you can combine the story of a little boy or a little girl into your big picture and your mission, it's definitely easier for people to get on board because they connect with, okay, I'm a mom, I'm a dad. Oh, my child has this. It's just, I think, especially nowadays, like equality and, all of that. I think it's so meaningful. And I think it's so important that everybody can have access to the things that they need to be part of a community. How lonely is it when your child has cancer? It's like really lonely, I would assume, just from talking to you. I know that it is because not everybody's going to go through that, but that doesn't mean there shouldn't be all of these things available to families that are in that situation, just like autism. I mean, 1 in 44 kids. That is like, it was like 1 in 94 when Eliza was here. It's like so quickly, I don't think it has anything to do with, I mean, I really just think that people are getting diagnosed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that there were a lot of times that kids just fell through the cracks. And now I think people are just getting the diagnosis that they need. So, every day we get to say our kids' names.
I know. And, I was meeting with someone, I think it was last year actually. That like she really knew us. It was like an
Yeah.
introduction. And she goes, "Yeah, I know you." She goes, "Eliza Hope Foundation and Benjamin Goldberg Foundation." And
Oh,
I was like, oh my gosh, people do
yeah,
our
I
community.
know.
We have stamped it. And
Yeah.
to have your daughter's name and Ben's name
It's
mentioned,
like the most meaningful thing.
I think there's something very special about that too.
I think that I really feel like I would not like that is the most meaningful thing to have Benjamin Goldberg, and Eliza Hope Darby. Like people know them together. They're like it's like weird. It's like cosmic. It's like, I know that sounds silly, but it's
Oh, no, no.
like all of the, like, just how we know each other and like we talked about last time, the Kaplans, like
Yeah.
we love the Kaplans. You love like they are such a special family and they love our children.
Mhm.
Like Stacy loves Eliza and loves Benjamin and their kids do. And it's this big, you just see so much of people's heart when you're in this sort of business that
Mhm.
it's like you can see the bad, but the good is so good.
It's so good because, I mean, we've talked about this too. Like, and it sounds trite, like to say it. When I was an auditor, my
Yeah.
firm, 40% of my work was in the nonprofit field. So this is something I knew. So
Right.
I didn't enter into this lightly.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's probably why it took you a little longer because you knew I didn't know anything. So you're just like, "Bleh." You knew too much.
I knew, yeah, I did know too much. But when I say, being of service, this truly is an act of service. You know,
Absolutely.
originally I started it for a lot of reasons. There was a gap. I mean, I saw the void, like just like you did. And we are doing this in our children's honor and memory, but it is also serving another purpose. It is a bigger purpose than I ever thought. I mean, I had one idea in the beginning and we did that, and it just seems like I kind of let it be this open.
Right.
Like, I don't really consider it Ben's foundation or my foundation. I feel like it's
Yeah.
foundation of the world's, like whatever it needs to do.
Right. How organically things come up. Like, oh, we need sports. Oh, we need swim lessons. It just like happens. And then we have a team that like helps make it happen. But I never want to have to say no, like, no, sorry, we can't do that. So I'm really open to all of the ideas that come in, especially from parents. And once we can make that happen, we have 32 kids on the swim lesson wait list. Like people need swim lessons for their autistic children. It's very difficult to teach an autistic child how to swim. It is not the same as a typical child. Eliza took swim at the Y. We got just a private person who didn't know anything about anything. And, she'd drink in the water, then she throws up in the pool. Like, it was just a mess. And I was like, no, we live in Virginia Beach. And the leading cause of accidental death in children with autism is drowning because they're so connected to the water and they just want to go. And so we need to have them all being able to swim,
Mhm.
So I mean, you could just like write an entire book just about starting a foundation and the stories that have happened along the way because it is special. It's healing to see somebody benefit from something we did in honor of our children.
Mhm.
There's not anything more special than having someone say, thank you so much for what you're doing for us. Like, what? That's all. That's all I need.
Mhm. And we don't do as much direct programming as you
Right.
do. We have definitely, this education and advocacy is really something that we do very well, and we will do it when the time is right.
Yeah, yeah.
However, so I don't get to hear the stories
Yeah.
often as you do. Occasionally there's an anecdote. I think someone said recently that their child had cancer and he's fine now. But they said when he goes back for his checkups, he just walks right back into the hospital because he doesn't remember the treatments. He remembers the music and he remembers all the other things that were there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like one little boy. I mean, I get so I like, and then you and I have, I mean, we don't mind talking either. Like, I was very
Right.
vocal about the need, and I was very fortunate that our local hospital systems listen.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So I am grateful. We've talked about this. We go to dinner once a year.
Yes.
It's our annual thing, and it was really funny because the
Yeah.
waiter came up and he remembered. I don't think he remembered me, but
No,
he
he did. He
no,
he just said me because my card said Eliza Hope Foundation.
and he
And
was
he's like,
crying.
yes, he was. I was like, wait, is he crying? I
No,
like, I like it.
yeah.
Because he had us the year before.
Yeah.
I know.
And I know we go to the same restaurant.
It touches people. It really does. It does. I mean, Eliza's life was short. I don't know why. I'll never know why. I wonder why. I'm like, why me? I do that. I still do a little bit. And it doesn't, and really, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't change anything. And so the least I could do is like celebrate her life.
Mhm.
And I mean, come on, it is like ridiculously hard to lose your child. It's like, can't even, I can sometimes plug into that place where I was the day that she died. And it is like frightening because I can start to feel that.
What were tell me about that again, because I think your story of her death, I didn't know until we met for
Yeah.
that day, and I just it was so visceral.
Oh, yeah. Right. Because for you, you were right there and you like saw it all go down. I did not get to do that. And I had so many questions so I was in Las Vegas with my girlfriends. So it's so crazy because we planned this trip and you know what it's like on a text, 8 girls trying to figure out a date. Like what? That's like crazy. So it was like back and forth, this day, this day. Finally, we decided November 10th through November 14th, we're going to Vegas. So we get there and it was the first night and we stayed out way too late. Well, I mean, we're in Vegas, so. And so I got back to my room at about 3 o'clock Vegas time. I fall asleep for maybe an hour and my phone rings and I'm like, it's like probably 8 o'clock here. And it was Aaron. I was like, hey, what's up? He's like, Eliza's very sick. And I like right now can feel it. Like I went blacked out and I was like, is she dead? Is she dead? And he said, yes. And I can literally like feel my body like it was just, I was, it's like I was so shocked. I was like, no, what? This can't be. I wanted to turn the clock back so desperately. I kept saying, no, no, I need to go back. I need to go back. I'm not answering the phone. If I don't answer the phone, this isn't going to happen. I mean, it was like the worst place I could possibly be. Vegas. I'm in a wheelchair, freaking hysterical. All these people are in the casino, like, ugh. It's so disgusting. It was like, I don't even remember like getting to the plant. I don't remember any of it. But I do remember every single person that came up to me that day and asked me what was wrong and said or did something that I have been able to remember. And it was super meaningful because they were just people out in the world.
Mhm.
Not even, and this one man came up to me and he had a British accent. He was Indian. And he came and he goes, are you okay? We were in the Delta lounge waiting for our next flight. It's like, what am I freaking doing here? I didn't go to the bathroom. Did nothing. Like I was like, ugh. And I said, my daughter died. I'm trying to get home. And he was like, I'm going to bring you tea. And he came back with a cup of tea. And like, I think about him and I'm like, does he know that I still remember this like 9 years later? Does
Mhm.
he know what an impact that made on my life for that moment on the worst day of my whole life? Does he realize did this man like leave and never think about it again? Or does he know the effect he had on me? Because people get scared of emotion
Mhm.
and especially men. And the fact that he saw me like falling apart on this chair, my friend was with me, but she had gone to the bathroom and I was sitting there and I was like falling apart. And the fact that he came up to me and said, are you okay? Is everything okay? Like, what? Nobody does that. I didn't think anybody did that, but they do.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember. I mean, I tell that story to people because it was so important for me to know that there were people out in the world that were going to stop and take the time to find out what was wrong, to just say kind words to me. Because, it's like I always thought like my daughter died, but everybody else is going about the day. They're going to the grocery store, they're going to Target. Like, wait, how is that happening? That everybody else's life is just moving forward. And I'm like stuck in this like
It's like
pain.
it was awful. I went to get my hair done for the service, and I remember I cried all the way down Virginia Beach Boulevard. And I looked at myself and, those swollen eyes. Turned on the AC vent. It was
I like,
like, because I didn't want, the outwardly appear that.
Yeah, right, right.
So sitting there, and of course, it's the one time I go to the hair salon and it's like packed with people. There's all these little stations set up. They're selling fruit juice and lipsticks and all. And I'm like usually there's 2 people in the whole salon. So I just kind of hunched down in my seat and this woman walks over. And I mean, like, if you looked at me, you could tell I'd been crying, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and she goes, hi. And I said, I stared at her. I don't even know if I answered. And she goes, I'm selling lipsticks over here. And I said, oh, oh, okay. And she, are you have a special occasion where you would like, a new lipstick? And I just looked straight at her and said, actually, I do. I have my son serviced. And she just went white, ash, really. And then she walked away like she didn't know what to say. But I didn't
You
mean
weren't meaning it like that.
no, but it was like, hello. I mean, so I think that like the opposite happens. Like you're in this world where everyone's just going about their life, and then there's no recognition for someone who may, have a crisis or something going on. But I always remember that story because
you needed something and she could not.
I mean, I was, I was probably very hunched with my purse. I mean, it wasn't a posture that was.
I'm like laughing because I could picture like that. Like, how am I laughing? I don't even know. But I am picturing you like, I know, like you're like, oh, somebody help me. Like, help me. I just kept saying, help me. Like, that was what I kept saying that day. Somebody help me. Like, I would like scream it. The Delta flight attendant was like, you gotta like, chill. I know this is hard, but we're going to have to make a landing if you don't chill. And I was like, that lady said that to me. I'm like, why would you say that to me? Like, say it differently. I am the best person. If somebody has a friend or like has some tragedy, come to me before you do anything. Like friends of that person. Like, don't go ask, what do you want for dinner? What do you want for, like, we don't know.
No,
we don't know what we want.
We want pasta or pizza.
Like, right. And if they don't say anything, just get something.
Just show up.
They'll eat it once it's in front of them. My dad was literally in front of me, like trying to like pry my mouth open. Like everybody kept telling me, you have to eat. I was like, why? Why do I have to eat? I can't go 24 hours without food. I can. But there's nothing that I want to eat right now.
Our children did,
Yeah.
Many times, so no, I'm good.
Yeah, totally good. How could I even think of eating a piece of food?
Well, after the service, it just kind of organically happened that I think everyone there got in a receiving line.
Yes.
So my friends kept coming up and like, do you want something? And I said, well, I'll take a couple grapes. And she literally came up with three grapes and a little sip of water. But they couldn't believe that I didn't want to do anything else. But I was like, this is the last time I'm going to see some of these people. And they have something to tell me about Ben. And I want to hear it. I don't want to eat.
Oh, that happened to me too, where I didn't mean to be in a receiving line and it just like happened. So I was just there.
Like, I remember I looked at my watch. I mean, this might have gone on for 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And for me, it was like 10 seconds. I heard their words and we laughed a little because Ben was funny and just had this kind of infectious way with people. So, it was sweet. But like now, I just remember their presence. Like like sitting at that service, and if it was 800 people behind us, I just remember just everyone's heart was so pure and full of love.
Yeah. For this little boy.
You can't even put words to it because.
No, you can't. Seeing all those people, because I spoke at the funeral and I had these like real manic things that would happen. I'd be like, I gotta talk. I have to say something. And so I did. And I remember looking out at all of these people, just like my friends' husbands and sobbing. Everybody was sobbing. And I will tell you that I stood up there and I spoke and I was like, I just want to stand here forever. That's all I want to do is just stand here forever and talk about Eliza. That's what I want. I want everybody to know every detail of her life. And I don't know what that is. I can't figure out like what that is that I wanted people to ask me things. Like I was never like shying away from somebody saying like, how did she die? Or, oh, how old? Like I liked that. I would be like, yep, ask me anything.
Yeah, I mean, because I think people are kind of afraid to approach us because they
Absolutely.
don't want to make you upset. Well, I'm already upset. So
Absolutely.
saying
Right.
his name is actually going to probably make me smile. So
Absolutely. Like I already feel like crap. So you saying something about this, it's not going to make me cry. It's really the person that is going to be more uncomfortable than me. I'm like, sure. Literally the worst thing has already happened to us.
yeah,
So nobody can say anything and like upset me. It's just, yeah, no, they can't. Nothing.
no. But you, like you said, I mean, we get to, and I think about, I get to send an email every day with his name on
Yeah, right.
it. Cool.
I mean, it's so, yeah. I mean, if this had to happen, I can at least say that I'm doing I'm doing the best to keep her name out in the world, you
Mhm.
know?
And
I mean,
it's amazing. It's amazing to see what you've done.
yeah, same with you. It's amazing. I love your logo. I'm so jealous of your logo.
We were at a coffee shop, and I spend a lot of time at coffee shops.
You should.
And my old neighbor son was there, and he was a graphic designer. And I was like, I need a logo. Can you help me? And he was like, yeah. And so we met back at the coffee shop. And I said, Ben, I really feel like it's got to have headphones. And I just said some stuff. I don't know
Yeah.
what I said. And he came back with that. And I was so amazed that he listened,
Yeah. And did that. The headphones.
got it, and get it. Like, I don't even have to explain it. You don't have to, don't
No.
tell anybody. Like, it's very clear and it's cool. So, and that's how I've approached all of this. The people that have been attracted to it and worked around it have been, I don't know, it's been fun because in my CPA firm, I was creative in my approach to it,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I didn't get to be
Creative.
work with creatives, right?
Right.
So it's I've learned so much, like working with different types of people, and it's just been really fun.
It really has. It's super it's interesting to because I didn't work with any creative people before.
Mhm.
So it is interesting to see like what people come up with. Like what what does this all mean to you? And then like they show it to me in a website and I'm like, oh wow, that's like Eliza. Like, I don't know.
Do
I,
do you think that, like, I mean, this is the way I feel, is the creatives get it and they can channel like that essence, I feel like.
yes, I absolutely think so. My girlfriend did our website and Kate knew Eliza because I worked with her and she was a photographer for, well, she still kind of is, yeah. But she took pictures of Eliza. And so like all of our like professional looking pictures are by Kate. So she knew her spirit, she knew all of it. And so her making the website was like me making it. I don't know. She tells the story about how she was on this bridge in Wilmington when she got the call from our friend Megan saying Eliza had died. And like and I'm like, wow, people remember when they found out. I can still ask people and they'll be like, oh my God, I was in front of the freaking grocery store and so called me and I was like screaming. I still like to know.
Mhm.
I don't know why. It's just a strange thing that I talked to my therapist about it. She's like, "Of course you want to know." It's like you didn't get to know the really intimate details of her leaving this earth because you were gone. So all you'll collect anything you can to help sort of, I don't know, it does help me to feel a little more present here in that time because I wasn't. So I'm like, where were all these people? Because I wasn't here. I was in the air flying here. And that's the worst thing. Because I go through that, like, well, if I was here, would this have happened? Well, I mean, she died from a seizure in her sleep. So, I mean, it would have still happened. But still, I thought in my head, no, if I were here, I would have known that something was wrong and da 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 da. So I called my cardiologist because I have a cardiologist for my heart. And he said, I want to tell you something. I know that you struggle with, like, if you were here. Well, there are people who are like laying in bed with their spouse, and that spouse has a heart attack and they don't even wake up.
Yeah.
And they wake up and find it. It doesn't wake them up. He said, I've had people on machines, heart machines in the hospital who go into cardiac arrest and we can't save them. And they're there ready for all the things. And I was like, oh, that is actually really helpful. That was very helpful. I know. It was so nice of him to do that. Because I was like blabbering and he was just like, listen, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to tell you exactly nothing you could have done. CPR rarely works. And I was like, okay, I feel better about that.
Yeah, but still, Amy.
Yeah. I mean, I felt better about that I couldn't have changed things. And like, you know, I've told you that she was nonverbal. She was getting a few words, but she wasn't able to say, hey, mommy, I want this. So for a long time, I couldn't get over, like, was she wondering where I was? Did she wonder where I was? Did she scared? Like, what happened? And my mom was here helping Aaron. And someone said to me, okay, let me ask you if you, since you couldn't be there with Eliza, honestly, who is the best person you could imagine putting her to bed that night? And I was like, my mom. No, no, not Aaron, because I mean, yeah, but Aaron wasn't the like, you know, he'd be like, good night, baby. But my mom was like rocking her and this and that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I should be glad that it wasn't just Aaron. Or, you know, Aaron slept late that day. It wasn't just my mom by herself. Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I relived that time
You
too.
did?
Yeah, I relive it. Not as much anymore,
Yeah.
but it's haunting.
It is.
I was there. I saw it all. He was in my arms, but still,
Were you in the bed with him?
we kind of had thought, I don't think any of us were speaking it, but it was known things were getting worse.
But he got up and was like, Mom, did you bring my...
Oh yeah. Like that afternoon he called me and he said, Mom, I need you to get down here and bring me this. And I'm like, cool. All right. So he's good. Like, even though things were a little rocky, but I felt like his spirit, he was acting as normal. So I kind of like was like, okay. And so I remember like that night I was packing up at the house and I was like, I need protein. Like your body kind of just tells you, because I wasn't going to eat for a long time after that, but I did. I don't remember what I got, but I went down there and Jeff was in bed with him, which was really weird. And he was asleep on Jeff's chest. And I walked in and normally a typical night would be the nurses in the room dancing or, something, whatever. So this was very different. And I got in bed with him and I looked at Jeff and I said, will you stay? And he said, I'm not going anywhere. Just unspoken, cool. What we know now, he had an aneurysm. Yeah. And they couldn't get his brain under control. Within like 6 or 8 hours, they announced him brain dead.
When did you know that he had an aneurysm?
It was almost like I felt like he was having a seizure. Like
it felt like that.
I don't know enough about seizures to say, but so
it wasn't even cancer. It wasn't even.
It's never. Well, sometimes it's like never the cancer, really.
Right.
All the treatments.
It's the effects of the treatments.
So much. He had so much. Like, oh my gosh, tons of chemo, immunotherapy, radiation, surgery. Ostomy. Like you just name it. The kid went through everything. It would pop back. That was an amazing thing. Like he would just pop back.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to like kind of see him in that much distress. And we were at the hospital and, it was very contained, but still there's no easy road.
No, there's not. You got to lay with him, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
even though he was announced brain dead, I mean, we each got to lay with him. And at one point, I took his headphones and I just put him right next to the pillow beside him and I turned on his playlist. The hospital was great. My nieces were up there that were very close to him, and the child life people,
Oh,
grabbed them and took pictures, and they were able to do a collage like right there. They know how to handle those situations. But yeah, I don't know, but
so what caused the aneurysm?
we don't know.
I don't even know what causes them.
I don't know if he had a scan a couple months prior and there was nothing in his brain. It could have been from the treatment. There could have been a tumor. I mean, we didn't do an autopsy, and we just felt like it doesn't matter.
I mean, we knew he had cancer, so
Well, he was fighting some low platelets, which was new for us. It hadn't happened before. So there's a lot of different things around that, but
it's really interesting. Eliza had bruises all over her legs. She was just bruising so easily, and she was starting to lose a little bit of she was very floppy. She had low muscle tone, and that goes along with epilepsy, autism. And her eye, and it's so crazy because I didn't even notice it until I looked at a picture that her eye was starting to float in. And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, oh, because it's intractable epilepsy. So, and she had these bruises on her legs. So we had an appointment with oncology, hematology, like at the end of November. And she died like the second week of November. And when the police came and they called 911 and the police came and everything, the first thing they did was say, why does she have so many bruises on her legs?
oh,
And my mom was like, she's going to hematology. This is it. And here's all her medicine. They're like, okay. But I was like, if I would have been there, I would have
you would have.
freaking lost my mind.
Right.
And it's actually probably a blessing that I wasn't, honestly. I don't know. I,
Yeah, it's just so weird to be in those situations.
yeah,
Used to being in a situation where police are at your house, or
yeah. Like, what the heck? And they always think it's that's the first thing they do is look at the people in the house.
Mhm.
I would have not done well with that. I think I was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I know how it was hard, but at this point, I'm like, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been the best person to be here. I
I
would have lost it.
and
Right.
I do have to wonder. I don't know. I've always heard like you can pick when you leave. Like you
Yeah.
not a little.
No, I know. I know.
So I want to get your
I
take
know.
on that, because I think Ben, if he could choose, he was going to do it in a way where none of us could have second guessed a decision.
What? Yeah.
He made so many 3.5 years worth of making decisions. There was
There
no.
was no decision that needed to be made. Yeah. Ah.
Yeah.
And I think me not being here and my mom rocking her to sleep that night, I mean, if it could be perfect, I guess that would be
Yeah.
sleeping.
Yeah, but what kind of acceptance that you've come to that?
Yeah. I mean, it's taken me a long time. I think it just happened right now, literally talking about it. Cause I mean, what, what more could I ask for? Right when Eliza first died, actually, my girlfriend told me this, reminded me that I said this, that it was the day after. And I was just hysterically crying. And I was ready for my next med. And I was like, there's nothing worse than this. There's nothing worse than this. And she was like, I know, I know. And I was like, well, there is so there's something worse than this. And it would be if your child was abducted and you had no idea where they were. And I'm like, how did I what was I how did I think of that? So strange that I thought that.
Right.
How did that come out? And she said ever since then she's been like, yeah, that would be worse
Yeah.
than her falling asleep in her little bed and going to heaven.
Right.
That's better than the alternative. So acceptance is hard for me though. I mean, sometimes I'm like, people are like, oh look, you brought, purpose to her life. Or they'll say, well, you would never would have been able to do this to shoot. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, good. I mean, and I've definitely gotten better at this, but like when the first big thing happened and it was news and on TV,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I did it and there was an excitement about it, but
Yeah.
that night I just cried. Like,
Uh,
because yeah, forget all that. Let me just
I,
take you to school.
yeah. I don't want to do all of this.
This is our third event or fundraising event. And so definitely we've got a little cadence about it. And,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's not so nerve wracking and,
Yeah.
things. But like, this is the first year I danced and I'm a dancer. And
That's
I
right.
just would not partake
No, no,
at
couldn't do it.
first.
No, I just did it this last one. We didn't even have dancing until this last one. And I couldn't get myself to dance. I was like, no, this is weird. I can't dance with this. And I was like, okay, I think I can like, that's
But I
it.
think once I let go, everyone else let go.
Okay. Yeah.
It just really softened the whole. And I didn't really realize like people are watching us.
Yes, I know.
Like not that I ever faked it, but like I I I now understand that energy, that exchange of energy.
Yeah, it's so true. People look to you or me to like sort of get what the vibe is going to be.
Mhm.
Like, are we going to be celebrating? Are we going to be crying? Like, what are we going to be doing? And it's a big responsibility, honestly. I feel like it's such a huge responsibility to be like, okay, I got to
It-
pick friends.
I won't even have a sip of alcohol until at least we get through the
So,
beach and the film and
yeah,
so I can't.
yeah, me too.
Here I got my makeup done like for the like I actually and it just
Is that good?
yeah. It was really good. I felt like, okay, this is a thing. And we were gonna have more, I think we were gonna actually have video there and
Oh,
it just elevated it just a bit for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. And then this is the first year
Hey,
a dress. Like the other two, I'm always in signature black, but I wore really cool jumpsuits. Uh,
oh, cute.
but this year I wore a dress and I might actually wear color this year.
Oh, yeah. Wait, when is yours? November,
November
November what?
15th.
Okay, yeah, 21st. I have to come to yours and you have to come to mine.
For sure.
We'll just like switch off. You sit at my table.
Going back to something you said though about like writing it out and all of that. And when I first met you, before I started the foundation, I took the time. I mean, it was probably obsessive. Now that I think about it, because I would go away for weeks at a time. I was writing the story, even he was here. And I remember we were up at, I think we were at CHKD and something really funny happened. Like he said something to a nurse or doctor and everyone's laughing. And I just had this, I said, I have to document this.
Yeah,
I don't want to forget a minute.
I know. Aren't you glad?
Oh man. So I started it and then I was like, I got to go back and talk about like Jeff. And it just kind of really naturally, the story just, you just
Turned into.
but then every night that I wasn't doing something else, I would go home from work and I would sit there and I would work on it. And
Yeah.
it took me a long time, but and I told his story over season 3 of the podcast and I took the characters out. Like I really wrote the whole thing with all the people. Like my mom has a big personality and Jeff definitely is a big character. And there was a lot of, in any family, like the dynamic kind of make the story actually more interesting. But my mom said I could do it. She's like, just be truthful. I don't care that, but I took that out and really, because I wanted this to be sweet,
Right. Right. You didn't want to. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to just draw attention to anything else, but, it took me a long time to do that. But I feel like I don't know if I could even be talking and doing the things that I'm doing had I not, that was my way of,
How to work it out. Yeah. Nobody. Right. Do you remember I said it's like the one thing that every single person on this entire earth, no matter color, race, religion, the one thing we all have in common is that we're all going to die. But the one thing that devastates us the worst is death.
yeah.
It's so confusing. It's like, wait, we all know on a really on a cellular level that we're not here forever. but we have it all set up in our mind how it's supposed to go down. Like, well, my mom will die first, then I will, then my child, like it's never, that's not how
Is that how life
it works.
I mean, there's, you know, I always like to, I take a step back, like, let's
Yeah.
back it up. But yeah, I didn't get to pick when he was going to go, but that was his story.
Right.
You know,
Right. That was his story.
story. I just feel so honored that I mean, some point, however that arrangement was orchestrated, that like I could, help his journey, this existence here for him in this lifetime. No matter how you think about it, that we brought these children into this world, we were able to
like set them off.
Interesting about that, and I can speak about that now in a way that most people won't.
Wow, that was a tough one.
Right? I mean,
but you're right. We brought them in and then we like watched them leave. And it's like sad, but it's at least we could do that for them.
My God. And then, spiritually, I talk about this a lot, like grieved his physical presence. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Them in the car, like
her little body. Yeah.
But I never lost the spiritual connection. Like him and I had this kind of telepathic way, we were with each other.
Yeah.
Even like when the nurse said to me at one point, tell him it's okay to go. And I just looked at her and I said, he's already gone. Like that energy that was in that body.
You could feel it go.
I mean, his energy was so big that you couldn't help but feel it. It didn't get the room when you were in there with him. It was gone. And that's why I think some people thought it was weird that I didn't stay at the hospital longer or whatever, because he wasn't
there anymore.
Like I could feel him in a different way. And I feel grateful that I was open enough to
be able to do that.
It was a little softer for me in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There are times, even like last year, Ben's father passed away.
Yeah.
During devastating, and they couldn't get the stone. They were on backlog, and his daughter picked Mother's Day weekend, which was fine, to lay the stone. So the stone is right next. So Ben's here, Jeff is beside of Ben, and I will be on the other side. But so we did the unveiling, and that weekend, it was awful.
Oh,
I wasn't prepared until after we went, and it was beautiful because our friends did just a little. There was maybe 10 of us there, and it was sweet and, not long. And we all went and got lunch. And that next day, I was a flipping mess. But I think there's these layers of grief. Like, I really feel like there was this deeper grief that hadn't come to the surface yet.
Yeah.
This was 8 years later.
I know, but it's like he was part of Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that would be, I mean, I know you were divorced, but it's still like a connection that you two had. And it was Ben was your connecting piece.
Yeah.
And that's really sad.
It's really sad. But then there's times where, that connection, and we were divorced, but we were divorced a year before Ben got sick. So we were thrown back in to daily communication. So sometimes I feel like we were never really divorced.
Yeah, yeah.
To that. And we were very close. I mean, Jeff and I had a very special bond,
Yeah, yeah.
That it's kind of hard to explain when we went through all the things that we did with Ben. So now,
yeah, of course,
that his energy, Jeff had very big energy as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I just feel like there is like double on the other side now.
Yeah.
And I tell this story a lot, like with the podcast, like I was just a CPA doing nothing. And I loved my relationships. And people like to talk to me, and I was interpersonally, I can talk and everyone thinks it's, but to speak in public or do a podcast is something very different. So, Jeff, he was very well known for his restaurant, but before that had a radio career and was very successful about that in that realm as well. So, but he just had these pipes, right? You could just listen to him talk and it was so soothing.
Oh, yeah.
Ben would always be attracted to a microphone. I have so many pictures of him like maybe TV10, like when he was, or one time I was at the hospital and we were doing some work and I thought he was in the playroom. And the next thing I know, like I hear him through the AV speakers, like he had made his way to a podium. I think it was the president of the, Manhattan was speaking and up on. So it's so interesting now because sometimes I look at the microphone and, and I'm not going to say I'm great at it. I'm definitely better than I was, but they left me with the microphone.
Yeah.
And
What's your job?
and so my job, and I like to think that they're coming through that communication, that connection and information that needs to get out there is,
Yeah, absolutely.
there's divine information.
Absolutely. Do
So
you ever think, does it ever make you feel a little better that, or do you even think this, that Jeff and Ben are together?
yeah,
Does that like at all give you a little peace?
it does. It's a lot of peace, actually.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, I think he wanted to be with Ben. I mean, he was very vocal and say, I just want to be with Ben. And he had a hard time with his grief.
Men always do. That's the saddest thing to me is that my husband, who did not even cry once in front of me the whole time, but yet it is all like in the belly. He's like, he just started going to therapy and doing EMDR. And it's, Wendy, when I tell you it's crazy, it's like unlocked things for him. And he actually started crying at his last session because the therapist said, why do you keep holding your breath? Like, why do you keep holding your breath? What have you ever, like, what does that bring back for you? Like the holding your breath. And he sat there and he's like, and he like made a face and he goes, she's like, and he goes, giving Eliza CPR before the ambulance came. And then he started crying and he was like, what is going on? And he wouldn't care if I was saying this. He was like confused by like what was happening. And he had EMDR the week before. And I was like, it's opening up like the pathways in your brain so that you can like let some of this out. Because when you don't, it's so toxic in your body. I can't imagine never crying about it. I mean, so we stayed at our friend's house for a week after Eliza died. And the thing that everybody wanted me to do was eat and sleep. And I'm like, okay, yeah, not doing any of those. So I go out to try to go to sleep and I couldn't. And I come down and I'm crying and I'm like so confused. You're like in shock still a little bit. And Aaron came down and my friend came down and then my mom came down and I was crying and I like fell on the ground and I was just like hitting the ground like crazy, like so grief stricken. And Aaron looked at me and goes, what are you doing? This is not going to bring her back. And I was like, huh? Like, what did you just say to me? I will do whatever I want right now. Like, I was like expressing this grief in a way that he was not used to or comfortable with. My girlfriend and my mom were like, go ahead, girls, like, let out. And he was like, no, no, no. But it's so easy to see now. Like, okay, my family, we all showed emotion. Aaron's family, not so much. And it was just this colliding of two ways of being. And my therapist told both of us the week after Eliza died, do not judge each other on how you grieve because you are going to grieve very differently. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm doing it the right way. And she's like, well, you see, no, you can't do that. All right. But I am, just so we all.
They're just action people. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like I was going to grieve and go to work, grieve and start a foundation. And mine just kind of comes out like slower, I think. Yeah.
And then those first days, it's like so traumatic. Like so weird. And I had told my girlfriend a couple months before, I said, why do I get this feeling Eliza's not going to have a long life? And she said she went home and told her husband and they were talking. And she came to me the next day and was like, you said that to me. And she said, if she doesn't, we'll figure it out. Because it's good for her to say that. That was nice for her to say. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, no, that's not going to happen. Because we all knew it was going to happen. In that deep part of us, we knew. Did I tell you about the book that I read? I
Yeah.
read the book about the pastor who lost his little girl
Yeah.
to an asthma attack, and he wrote a book. And I read the book, In the Eyes of a Lion, and he talks about like the when she died, like the whole thing, like very detailed. I read that book before Eliza died. I read it like 3 times. I was like obsessed with it. And then I gave it to my mom to read, and my mom was like, that was literally the saddest book I've ever read. Why would you want to read that so many times? And then, a few months later, Eliza dies. And the first thing I say is, I need Eliza's blanket from her house, and I need that book. Please find that book for me. Because I wanted to read how he survived.
Mhm.
Like, how do you survive? Like, that's the thing I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine how I was ever going to be able to like live a normal life. It was so crazy to me that people like expected me to. Like that the expectation was I'll get better and then it'll be fine. Everything will go back to normal. But I was just overwhelmed with like, do people really get through this? So I was like reading the book and I'm like, okay, he wrote this book. He can live his life. He can still live, you know. And
Oh,
to
I've read
me,
everything. Like, oh gosh, every book on the afterlife, every book on grief.
yes,
Like,
everything.
I wanted to know it all,
Everything. Yeah. Everything.
and it was good. I mean, it really ate some time. I think
Yeah.
during that
Yeah.
period, could have been doing some other things, healthy, but
Right.
it was. I learned a lot. Every example was like people do
Yeah.
spread this, and I think deep down I knew I would.
I'm not sure that I did for a while. I don't know if, like, to me, I think maybe you had a little glimpse of what could happen because he was in the hospital and he did have, childhood cancer, which is terrible. So maybe do you think at all that you were like, or did you like think, oh no, this is work here
Look,
and that?
we when we were told about his diagnosis, the prognosis was poor.
Oh, it was?
Oh yeah. I mean, the stats were really, really bad, but he did so well. Like, they were honest with us, and I'm glad they were. But he did so well. Like, the kid never got a mouth sore from the chemo. He
Right.
he, he would pop back. Even the doctors were like kind of shocked. And but when it was about a year and a half later, he relapsed. So you can get through the treatment, but the older you are when you're diagnosed with neuroblastoma, the worse it is. And with stage 4, then when you relapse, there's like no stats. Like, none of the kids, at least at that time, survived.
So wait, neuroblastoma stage 4?
Stage 4 neuroblastoma. Yeah.
Why stage 4?
Because it had gone to other parts of his body.
Oh, it did. It
When
metastasized.
he was diagnosed, there was a tumor that had wrapped around his internal organs. It was in his bone marrow. It was in his lymphs. I mean,
But it's in your brain, neuroblastoma.
no, it's not.
No, it's not.
Like, it's so funny when I go and tell my family history and I said my son has neuroblastoma and people put brain tumor. And
Yeah.
I said, no, it's not a brain. I mean, it's a nerve. It's
Neuro. It's
cells or tissue.
okay. Okay. So it's not.
It always makes me mad when people write brain tumor.
So is it? So what? Where is there even a tumor anywhere? Yes, there was one
There is
rat.
one for adrenal. It starts in the adrenal gland.
Oh.
But what we know is they're born with it. It's in the embryo.
Oh no way.
Some kids can, like, I think we all carry cancer cells from time to time, and you fight them off. And I think we all have cells, and if our immune system is strong enough, it fights it off. So we knew it was very poor, and we're so lucky to have CHKD, but we also knew that Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York had they had a whole department for neuroblastoma. And he had a surgery there, but we did a really good job of going between the hospitals. We were able to maintain like a sense of home, but we were in New York probably 30% of the time. But when they relapsed, that's when I was like, oh gosh. But then again, he did great. Like, he would have chemo, it would go away for a while, and then it would come back. And,
How did you know he relapsed?
but when they told us,
There was no like sign that he did. He just went for blood work.
yeah, blood work and a scan, and it'd come back. And, they weren't making a big deal about it, but I had done enough research to know that no one ever talked. In New York, they never really talk stats. They don't, but they were just annoying. but he did really good for a while. And yeah, it was always in the back of my mind.
And he was able to go back to school for a little while.
Oh yeah, we held him out of kindergarten that first year, and so he would have started kindergarten, so we held him back, and they had a whole new group of kids, and that which was really kind of interesting too. Like the kids that in the class, this underclass that he ended up in kindergarten with, they were sweet kids. Yeah, it was a really sweet, loving group of kids, and he would go in and out, and I would call the school and say, "Hey, we're going to be gone. Be back in 3 weeks," and they would always do something, and they had this is so sweet. They had this desk
Oh,
in the
gosh.
second grade, and they would write notes on it. Like, so when he came back, he had these notes on his desk. So the kids, all right, so he was in the second grade. The kids in that class took it to the third grade, the fourth grade, and fifth grade.
Yeah.
I mean, no, they traveled with the desk. I mean, it was, and the school said, do you guys want the desk back? And Jeff and I were like, no, it is the school's desk. Like, it belongs to
Right.
the school. Like,
Oh, gosh. Do they still use it? I feel like we need to go see that.
oh, we did. Yeah,
I think we need to go again.
yeah, we'll go see it again.
I want to see
I'm on
this.
the board there, so yeah, so we can, yeah, well, I'll find out. They told me where it was. I can't remember. So it was really sweet. We got
Yeah.
the opportunity just to, like have a community behind us during that time.
That's so good. I mean, I remember Robin talking about you
Yeah,
during that time.
it was just, but that's when I got really hyper focused though. When he relapsed and I had a Carrying Bridge site and I didn't even put a post, I just shut the thing down because
Yeah.
I am not going to waste 1 minute updating anyone about any blood tests or anything. Like, no,
Right, right, right. Yeah.
it was way before, I mean, it was like a while back. Everyone had phone, but it wasn't like,
Yeah, it's not like it is now.
so I really wanted my attention with him and
Yeah.
my presence with him, not
Did it if it is.
be obsessed. I mean, like, just,
Yeah, it can get obsessive.
checking to see who liked the post. I was like, I just can't.
No, right. That's good that you did that.
But when I post, I would just post us in New York. Like he was sipping on like sparkling water. It was funny.
Yeah.
Like it was just very, and I think people could tell by the post how if we're in New York, okay, he's getting treatment. So
Right.
there wasn't a lot of thought behind it, but people were still able to follow along. And I just felt like the people that needed to know. And I wanted to normalize things for him. It wasn't a show. This isn't a show for people to watch. Like, this is live.
Yeah. I do feel like after Eliza died, it was like so many people coming out of the woodwork to like almost like I felt a little like, oh, wait, like all these people want to know, but I don't really know them. But they're like, and then I felt weird about it. Like people were attracted to the subject, to like what was happening, not necessarily because they knew us, just because it was like, I don't know, looking at the car wreck on the side of the road.
Right.
I felt very much like this is strange. This is a strange feeling to know that people are watching what's going on and they don't know me. They just
Yeah.
see the story.
It was interesting. We had moved to the West End, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it was good for us at the time because we were back and forth so much. I just couldn't even deal with the trash can and the lawn guy. Like,
Right, right, right.
too much. But when he passed, I was there and I'm really grateful for that because I needed like solace. I didn't need food. I didn't need people coming over all the time. And it was just what I
Yeah,
needed.
yeah.
Mhm.
I get it. It was so much input. It was like overwhelming.
And I think men really just want to help in the best way possible. I mean, I really think they do. It just, we were public. Like Jeff was known in the community.
Yeah.
So the Ben was like, it was a thing. And like, I remember for a while, I would wear sunglasses and a hat to the grocery store
Oh, yeah.
because I'd run into people.
Yeah, I couldn't even go to the grocery store. I couldn't even look at food that Eliza like. I'm about to tell you something really weird that you guys heard it here first. My mom saved my little dirty clothes hamper from when I was little. So I was like, I love this cute little thing. It's so good. So I had it in Eliza's room and she had dirty clothes in there when she died and they're still in there.
I, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think that is because that means something to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we all do something.
Yeah.
I mean, slept with his little, he had this, when the babies, they're called taggies, where they're like little,
Oh, yeah.
and they have the little,
Tags all around. Yep.
he loved he had one in my parents' house. He had a bunch of them and he would sleep with them. And so I still have one. I slept with it for about a year.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I carried her blanket around with me everywhere I went for the first like 4 months. And my therapist told me when I walked in one day, she said, "So I see you don't have the blanket." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. Why did you have to say that? I didn't even think about it." And she was like, "It means you're starting to heal." And I was like, "I
Yeah.
don't want to. Like, I don't want to heal."
Yeah. That I had that too.
Yeah. Like, no, 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 no. Right. It's scary. It makes you feel so far from your child. I always think of it like when someone asks me, like, what does it feel like? And I always think of it like you're at the grocery store and your child like goes off and is lost in the grocery store. And you're like panicked, like, oh my God, where are they? Where are they? And that is how I felt. I felt panicked. Where is she? And I mean it, I have healed a lot because I can think of it now and not get so upset. But there was a time where thinking about where she was, I couldn't comprehend it. I'm like, okay, I am saying that I know you're in heaven, but do I know you're in heaven? Like, how can I be absolutely sure? Am I 100% sure? Like, if there's heaven, you're there. But I always believed in heaven. I always went to church and believed in heaven and all of the faith-filled things. But then something like that happens, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, is this real? Is this true? Can I be guaranteed that that's where she is? It was a real moment for me where I was doubting things that I never thought I would doubt.
And I think that's normal. Like him and I had some practice at being apart. So
Yeah.
when Jeff and I got divorced, so he was a Jeff
Oh, right.
Tuesday nights and Saturday nights, right? And so like for me, that was the hardest part about getting divorced is to not have
Oh, yeah.
a child with you.
Yeah.
So weird. You have a child to you're with them.
Yeah.
So anyway, I never got comfortable with it. Really.
Yeah.
It just it became okay. And there was one period where he was going to be in New York. He had some radiation to do. It was maybe 3 weeks. And I had to be back here for my business during tax season. And
Oh, yeah.
it was one of those things. It was kind of like, did you have radiation?
I did.
Yeah. So, I mean, you go and you wait, it's 15 minutes and you leave. It's boring, actually.
Yeah. And it's like such a small part of the day. And then you're like,
what do you do for the rest of it? So, I wasn't worried about him physically. So Jeff said, why don't I'll just stay here with him in New York and you go home. And so I did. So it was 12 days. And I remember because we were all there and I flew home and I walk into the apartment and there's his backpack hanging, on the bar stool. And it was so empty. And I just had this feeling and I just stopped. I was wheeling my luggage behind me and I just stopped and sat in whatever chair was near me. And I said, this is what it would feel like if he wasn't here. And I sat in that and not for long, but I just sat there and felt the emptiness of the apartment.
oh, yeah.
And I'm kind of glad I did.
You feel like maybe it was like kind of helpful to like know what that felt like.
Yeah.
Yes.
To kind of have a sense of it because that's what it felt like times 100.
Oh, yeah, I know. And it's like, wait, what? Where is my child? It still is upsetting to me now that I'm like really going back, thinking like, where are you? You should be here with me. You should be with me. You're too little to be gone.
I know.
It's such a devastating, gosh. And then what? I got cancer when Eliza was 5 months. And we are just alike. And then you got cancer just a year, 2 years.
3.
Oh, wow.
Mhm. Then I got Ben had a rare stage 4 and then I get a rare stage 4 and you're like, good Lord. Like,
Right.
I'm very ignorant. I mean, honestly, a very healthy person, very
Yeah.
obnoxiously healthy. But
Right.
I mean, to me, I was never worried about getting cancer because I figured like, okay, well, if we have to learn lessons in this life with, I don't know if I believe that or not, but
Right.
then I've been in that world. I know that world. Like I've seen it,
Right. Right.
right? No, not.
If you were to really like think, when I think about it, for you, I get very like emotional and like, wait, what?
Mhm.
Ben dies, then Jeff, I can't even fathom that part.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is. You do really well, Wendy. I just really want you to know.
Well, I just
I know that I know that it's, I mean, but your spirit is still like light and joyful. And I think that's so important because you could have a not, you could have a much darker spirit. It could be like, okay, I'm out. Like I'm tapping out.
I probably could have chosen to go, you know,
Yeah, 100%. I was like, take me.
but I feel like, we're down here to have an experience,
Yeah.
create. And I'm grateful that I have been able to create businesses in a beautiful life and child and family. And even though not all of that lasted very long, and then to create a foundation and then have to create this new life for myself on the other side of almost dying. So yeah, I've been in some weird positions. I've looked at it like my dad always was very resourceful. Like he never saw things as obstacles. Like there's always a
Yeah.
solution. Like you could be in the middle of anywhere and have nothing. And then you could start to like slowly piece a life and slowly
Yeah.
things and so I think that it wasn't thinking about it, but that's what I've always done,
Right.
and hopefully the next phase of my life is about enjoyment and like
Yeah.
not obstacles and not struggles and just enjoying being here. Because yes, do I want to see Ben yeah,
Yeah.
in the worst way.
Yeah.
But I also when I do see him, I want to have a really good conversation. I want to be able to tell him all the things that I did.
Right. And how sad would he be knowing that you just laid in your bed crying for, 20 years?
Yeah.
Like it would be sad. And so, wait, did I tell you this? Barbara Bush said after they lost their little girl, to like pneumonia, I think, like in the 50s or no, longer. Anyway, she passed away when she was about 4 or 5. And she said that getting through the grief, the only thing that worked to get through the grief was doing for others.
Mhm.
And I think that is the most powerful thing. I think that we're never going to be A-OK 100%. Woo. But doing for others does give you a sense of like, okay, I'm going to be okay. I can do this for someone else and bring them joy. Like it brings me joy to see people responding to what we're doing in the community. And that really does. And seeing like a little girl that reminds me of Eliza, who's nonverbal and has her hair in little top knots. And I'm like, you know, this is like, this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to do this. Nobody told me I was going to be meant to do this. This just happened. And this is what I was supposed to do with Eliza's death. I was supposed to do for others. And I do really believe that that's the reason that I like am still here and functioning as a human because it was that was a really devastating blow to to lose your child is like, there's nothing more devastating. There's really not. And the fact that I can get up, go to work, and someone will tell me like crazy, silly story that like just hits me like, yes, is huge for me. And if this is what I do for the rest of my time here, I'm good. And I think that you feel the same. And I think that's why we connected in such a big way. And it's so crazy because we went to coffee that day and then we didn't talk for a couple of years.
I know.
It was like too much stuff. It was like, we were really sad still.
Mhm.
We were both like still trying to figure out what was going to happen. And then when we finally did reconnect, it was like we were like more of ourselves. We had healed a little bit more and it was easier to like, because I met with people all the time those first few years and telling the story, and it is exhausting. And I would do EMDR, and I would literally cry for an hour, and I would go home so exhausted that I would just lay in my bed and fall asleep until Aaron got home. It was so exhausting. And we only had one child, me and you. And that's very often.
Mm-mm.
Most, like, I don't meet a lot of people that just have one child.
Yeah, we have so much in common,
So much. It's
and I
crazy.
love that I can call you. Like, I called you
Yeah.
of my, fundraising event because
Yeah.
it's just a weird time.
I know.
You want people to come, but, like, the
But
reason behind it is it's just weird. Do you
mhm.
it's just, like, part of it is it's not like you're excited when you're getting married and not everyone's gonna show up. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
totally different
But
entity.
it's a totally different energy. And it's like, I'm worried, but I'm worried because I want to make a certain amount of money so we can keep this thing going.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like the pressure, there's more pressure. But then when I'm like, I don't wish I didn't have to do this. I wish that I
Like,
just
I mean,
had a
it was a Saturday night generally, and, what would we be doing? Like, he'd be
yeah.
Jeff, and maybe I went to dinner with friends or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, what we would have been doing is probably not that great.
No, it's boring.
Sorry. It's way better what we are doing.
Yes and no. It just, it's lonely.
So lonely.
And that's why I call you sometimes. Like, it's nice to just kind of bounce
Absolutely.
starting a nonprofit's not easy.
No, I can't believe I did it, to be honest. That was very, like, unlike me to be able to actually do it and get that 501(c)(3).
Hmm.
That was hard. I mean, I didn't know what I was just, like, doing things, but I really believe that if I paid too much attention or if I thought about it for too long, I wouldn't have done it.
No, I agree. And for me, it just felt like I don't like consciously, yes, I knew I was doing it, but it's almost like I know it's going to sound weird to say this, but like it was already done. Like
Right. It is done. It was done.
I was supposed to do this. Like there's no
Right.
questioning
No
why I'm
question.
doing this. I mean, I put in the hard work, and you know this. Like people say, how much time do you spend at the foundation? Like I don't know because it's
Every day, because I just, like, think about it all day. Yeah. And there were a lot of haters too, who were like, no, no, you're not going to be able to do this. No, no, you can't do this. You're not good at this. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're not very good at this. So you're not going to be able to do it. You need someone to come in and do that for you. Like, no. So then you're like, the self doubt comes in. And you're like, wait, can I not do this? Maybe I can't. And then, but something would just keep me going. It was like I was 100% supposed to do this.
yeah. I mean, there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't the money. Like we're gonna have to raise X amount. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't pay myself, but pay my people. And
Yeah.
we're doing such great work. No one sees it until years later.
Right.
Hard
Right.
turn it like right now, and someone would make a donation or we get a commitment for something. And yeah, I think it has a life of its own.
So this is so crazy. I got the mail one day, like I think it was in December, and Kylie and Shelly are in the office. We're in our little office with our 3 desks, and I'm giving Shelly the mail because she always opens the mail, and I kept one thing to open. I don't even know why. And I started to open it, and I looked at it, and I was like, "That's $20,000 just out of the freaking blue. Didn't even expect it." And I go, "You guys, you're not going to believe this." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "You have to come here." And I showed them like this, and they were like, and we just all started jumping up and down, holding hands, so happy. Now, this was your client that you sent to me, which was like the kindest thing that anybody's ever done. And so I was like, you know what? People should see how excited. I wish we would have had a video of this because people should know how everything means so much in this line of work, in this industry of nonprofits. Like that check was like made our entire month. Like we were so happy. I was like, damn, if only we would have had a video. And then I was like, I went home that night and I was like, wait, we do have a video because we have security cameras in every room and every place. And I was like, Shelly, get on the security camera, go to 458. And she was like, okay. And so she found the video, and it's literally, so you can't hear it, but you can see it. And all of us jumping up and down and like high fiving. It was like the best thing, but it's such a visual of what it means
Mhm.
when people give to your nonprofit that you started because your child died. Like, it doesn't have to be $20,000 either. It's any amount. But that one was like, well, we were not expecting that. And so it's sort of like, well, the person that gives $20,000, he believes in us. So that's nice. So all the people that hated, in the beginning, and it's still bizarre to me that they did.
Well, I mean, do you think sometimes I think that as it grows and we're more visible, maybe that too comes the criticism.
Absolutely.
And so
And I can't take criticism.
to that, I had to get used.
I'm the worst.
Well, around Ben, like I could take, like I've been in business long enough, like, I can, but
I can't. You're going to have to teach me.
this was a little different, I mean, because you're putting like people are attracted to our foundations because of the essence of them.
Right.
I just was like, why would someone criticize? Like,
I,
you don't like the mission. Okay, we'll give to someone else. But like,
right.
we're not for everybody. Like,
See, I disagree. I think we should be for everybody. Like, if you're going to give to anything, we're your girls.
well, yes,
This is where it should go.
I do feel like that people, like, I'm kind of like, we have to find our flock, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I feel like it was the Wendy and Ben bubble in the beginning. And now we're just kind of breaking out of the Wendy and Ben bubble. And we're finding the people that are truly attracted to our mission. So that's when I started to focus on that. Like,
Yeah.
more people that are going to love what we're doing. People give to for all sorts of different reasons, emotional, I don't know. So I can't analyze all that. All I can control is making our messaging and our work the best it can be to attract what we need to do in this.
Right.
Yeah, it was a little disheartening at first because I think we were still grieving.
Absolutely. And I was like,
Criticizing
what?
your child at school or getting
It was literally like the most special thing. I was like holding it like this, like, nobody say anything bad or I'm going to freak out. And then they're like, well, you just might not be able to have those hard conversations. Okay, well, I think I'll figure it out when I get
okay, don't worry, we'll have a
I got this. Like, no need to worry about me. Like, it just was silly to me. It was silly because you expect so much more from people when, like, clearly this means a lot to me. So let's encourage people instead of like bring them down. I think encouragement from anyone, even if it's tiny, it just means something. And it means something more when it's something that's really yours. It's not just, oh, I took this job at a nonprofit. It's like, oh, I made this nonprofit for people like me who had struggles.
Yeah.
Just like you.
Yeah. But now I've gotten to a point where like we're starting to get like people chime in on the comments more on social media and they're, some of it is, it's not hate, but it's like different. And I'm like, well, now I'm like, well, good, because now we're being seen. Right.
Wait, well, but tell me, I don't know this.
Like
someone commented something weird.
It was just kind of, we hit it, like it was enough to where
See, I don't like that. I'm not a fan.
I'm like, you know what? Okay, well, then, we're out there enough that people are criticizing or going to say something one good,
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Oh, this is the thing. This is the thing that bugs me. When someone complains about something like at the gala, like,
oh, yeah,
it wasn't that great. I don't care. I'm not really here for the chicken.
Yeah. No, that's a whole thing. I mean, we spent so
Yeah.
much time. What people want? Do you have enough vegans?
I know. Oh gosh.
There was too many desserts. I mean, like, I can't.
Someone didn't get the vegetarian meal, and that people came up and they were like, they didn't get the, and I'm like, I don't know.
Fundraiser.
I literally have no clue what to say right now. Can you find something back in the kitchen?
Yeah, it's almost comical though.
It is really. It is comical. It is.
It's all, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
well, tell me, I was talking about my writing, but you actually
yes, I wrote a book. Did you read it yet?
I have not read it, but when you were over here and we messed up the podcast, I made you sign it. So yeah, but it's so lovely,
It's like pretty. I know.
so inviting.
It really is.
Tell me about that process and the message behind it.
So it was honestly, it was my friend's two little boys who had questions about autism and they had questions about Eliza. And so she said, can you recommend a book? And I sent them a book from Amazon about autism. And I was like, how was it? And she's like, it's fine. She's like, honestly, I think you could write a better book. And I was like, okay, I will. I think I'm going to. So I went and I interviewed her two little boys, Finn and River, and I took down all the questions that they had, like, can you catch autism? Are you born with it? Like, what, like, so many crazy questions that I was like, oh my gosh, these are great questions. And I worked with the illustrator and the editor. And what I wanted was for typical kids to be able to read a book that tells them why a child is doing the things they're doing. The children with autism are doing the things they're doing. Like they're flapping their hands, they're screaming out, they're wearing headphones, they're doing all of these things. And that it's just a difference. It's just, you can still invite them to your house. You can still invite them to your birthday party. It's nothing you're going to catch. You should just always be kind because really that's what it's about.
So I used to say, be kind.
It used to say nice, and she would rub your face. I know. It was so sweet. And we don't even know really why she did that.
So popcorn and pine cones, where can people get them?
They can get it on Book Baby. If you go to our Instagram or our website, elizahope.org, and there's a button, you can push it and order your copy of Popcorn and Pine Cones. And it's named that because Eliza loved popcorn and she loved pine cones. And right after she passed away, I was so happy that I had a video of her walking out of the front door, grabbing the pine cone, smelling it, telling me to smell it, and then being so excited. And she did it everywhere she went. Pine cones were sent from heaven to Eliza.
I love it. And I love when I'm on social media and something pops up and I get to see Eliza's face or
I know.
it just warms my heart.
I know. I know.
You are doing such an amazing job in her honor. And
thank you.
I'm so grateful to know you. And I feel like we're kindred spirit.
All of our, I know. I just love you. And I love Ben. And I wish I knew him. It always makes me so sad because I'm like, why didn't I know him? But I will tell you that you do a really good job of describing him and describing his spirit. And he was lucky to have you. And you were lucky to have him.
Thank you. In the same, I mean, I am so sorry that we got to know each other under the.
I know.
The bittersweet part is that, I feel like I have an ally.
Absolutely.
In this world. And I think about you a lot.
I do too. You're the best, Wendy. I'm so glad you're doing this podcast. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, look.
What are we on? Oh, wow.
Wow. I mean, wait.
Did we go over?
Not yet. Amy, before I let you go, I want to ask you a question I ask all of my guests. What does the word healing mean to you?
I think healing is like an action word. I think that you're never healed. You're just on a trajectory of healing, of little by little understanding yourself and being able to put good things out into the world. And I think all of those things are like healing. I really don't think that we will ever be healed, but I think that we will be healing until the end of our lives. And I think that as much love and joy as you can put out, that is the most healing thing that anybody could ever really want.
And that's exactly what you're doing, my dear.
Yeah.
You're an example of it.
You too.
Thanks,
Wendy. I love you.